I'm Elizabeth McGhee. I'm a local artist here in Laguna Beach, and I'm currently showing my work at the public library. So honored to be there, and I'm a still life and figurative artist. So I originally moved to Laguna to go to Laguna College of Art and Design. I graduated in 2009, and I've been at the Festival of Arts ever since. When I was a kid, I hated art. Like, I hated it. I knew that I wanted to draw things as they looked, and I didn't know how to do that, so I was always frustrated. And I had art teachers who would try and reassure me and tell me, oh no, that's just your style. So I was like, great, my style is suck. So I decided I was not going to be an artist because I didn't have a talent. So without a talent, I thought, well, I'll become a writer. So I became a really avid reader, thought I was going to be a writer. And then it wasn't until I had an art class in like high school that I realized that I still really liked art. I still sucked, but I had an art teacher who was like, oh no, you can erase, and there's all these tools to improve your drawings and techniques on like how to do a perfect circle, like use a circle guide, you know? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so then I started really diving into art and thinking, oh, maybe I could do this. Yeah, I've been using the same technique for most of my professional career since I graduated. So I paint on wood. So this is one I'm working on right now of the library. So it's a wood panel that I tint kind of this brownish color, do the drawing on it, and then just start painting. So almost all my paintings are on these thin pieces of panel. Oil. This one I did an acrylic underpainting on because it's so large. So I'll do the acrylic roughly, and then I'll do all the detail on top with oil. But all my still life and my other smaller works are 100% oil. But I use mostly watercolor brushes. I don't use hog bristle brushes, and I do a lot of blending. So like the still life, I just set them up on my little table in there. So it's my grandma's like maple table that I've had. Yeah, and so rather than send it to Goodwill, I've just been using it, so it's been in all my paintings. But for the larger ones like this one, because we have the pandemic going on right now, I actually had the majority of the models come at separate times and models, so that way socially distanced. But this is part of a series that I got a grant through the city, fostering creativity in a time of crisis. So I'll be doing three paintings this size to go with my other zinc painting that I did. And so that will be completed within the year of receiving the grant. So exciting. My first grant. I go to the library all the time. So like not only do I research, I have a ton of books at home on all different topics. These are like some of my there are whole books on just color, like every color, So I use these, teach me and remind me about the history of some of these colors, the mineral compositions, all that kind of stuff. And then also it's like, I go to the library just to exercise my brain, because it's I'm very visual, and so reading, I'm still an avid reader, so it's oh this has nothing to do with art, hidden life of trees, so it's it keeps my brain going. But yeah, I'm always reading new fiction, nonfiction, so libraries are awesome. It's very relaxing. It's really easy, especially in these kind of weird times, to get out of the everyday, to disappear into my paintings and to try and create a space that's separate. And I don't paint high drama or anything like that. Most of my paintings are relaxing or very simple, and so even just the act of painting, it's like therapy. I joke with people that it's art is like therapy, and it's a lot cheaper. Unless you calculate in art supplies, then it's probably very similar. Well, it's I volunteer a lot, so that's how I teach with Loca Arts Education, so I teach at the youth shelter, I teach at the library in Glenwood and at Festival of Arts, and so Um, I just like helping because I figure I don't have like a lot of money to help, but I do have time, and then I get, I like being able to share what I know with other people. Yeah, one of my main influences was my great grandma, Charlotte Light. She was an artist and she showed at the festival many years ago in the 50s. And so she was going through a divorce and then just decided, I'm going to be an artist at about 50 years old. And so she lived down Beach Road. And so I grew up in San Diego, and like once or twice a year, we'd drive up to Capistrano Beach and, see her in her studio. And so I think she was like the first kind of like real artist I ever met, like somebody who, like, that's what they did. And so my dad was always really encouraging of me, because it was his grandma. Ooh, well, I'm a weirdo. My favorite music are movie soundtracks. So most of the music I have is symphonic. So I'm, James Horner's a good one. John Williams, all the classics. Klaus Fidel, really like Klaus Fidel. So I find listening to soundtracks puts me in the mood to paint. So like if I am painting something with toys in it, I might listen to the Toy Story soundtrack, or like this painting of the garden, I've been listening to the Secret Garden soundtrack. So um, it just kind of puts me in a mood, and then time just flows and I don't really think about painting. So I find lyrics and music, unless I'm in a very particular mood, distract me a little bit. So it just depends on the day, but I really like Dutch painting. But I kind of changed back and forth. I used to really love the Impressionists, and then I started moving away from them, and now I'm starting to discover a lot of artists who I didn't know, who aren't in like the big like Gardner's Art Through the Ages book, where they're seen as not so famous, but they paint amazing. So I've been discovering a lot of new artists. Um, but I can't pick a favorite one. It's like picking a favorite child, I guess. Just keep on a painting. So it's one day at a time. Every year I get a bit better and at painting, so it gets a little easier. But I think I still catch myself getting stressed or like doubting myself, and then it's like I was actually updating all my software. Like I have this inventory software, and I was having to update all the paintings I've done for the past 10 years, and every so often I'll beat myself up going, I'm such a lazy artist because I come home from my day job and I don't want to paint. I just like want to play video games or like watch TV, and I'm such a lazy bum. But then when I was going through all of the photos of all the paintings I've done, it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of files to edit here. I've done so then I find out I'm beating myself up over nothing. This is a video that Rick Graves put together a few years ago when he visited my studio pre-pandemic. Really grateful to him for having made the video and made it possible. So enjoy visiting my studio. I didn't always want to be an artist. I thought I was going to be a writer because I liked telling stories. And when I was first learning about art, I was thinking, oh, well, how much can one image tell? You can't tell a story. And it wasn't until later that I started seeing how stories could be hidden in paintings. So for me, being able to hide a story in one image is almost part of the challenge and part of the fun. Being able to give my viewers a code by giving them a title so that if they wanted to know the story more or see the hints and clues, they could do their own research. But otherwise, it would still be an interesting painting that you could enjoy even if you didn't have the same story that went with it. So my still life series are predominantly toys, and I picked toys because I love symbolism, I love hiding meaning, and toys are the perfect symbols. Because when you see a toy truck, you don't go, oh, that's just a painting of a truck. It's like, it's a toy truck. Wait, why did she paint a toy truck? That's not like a bowl of bananas or something. It's not something traditionally, seen as a still life.
And so I can then kind of play with that. Once I already have the viewer thinking, wait, why is she doing that? Why is that there? I can start to assemble a pun or a story. I have a rule. My dad and I go to the swap meets and find toys. Never cutesy, slightly creepy. So, because I find those things more interesting. And then I love it because then I can put it in a painting and it'll make people think, because I curate all my still lives, you know, so it's like everything in it is there for a reason. For me, my still life are play. And sometimes my dad will joke with me. He goes, so are you painting today or playing? Because I have 2 large toy boxes that I'll just open up and do ideas. So the pun paintings just started out as fun. I love language, and punning is kind of at the heart of language. And so to be able to also hide something that's seen as kind of lowbrow underneath this veneer of respectability, and it's a classical realist oil painting that just amuses me to no end, you know, so that it's seriousness, but it's serious fun. So I'm also working on a series of 80 portraits of mostly women from Greek mythology, but modernized. I have them come to my studio. I tell them wear whatever you want, because I want to capture personality. And as soon as you give someone a costume, they are no longer that person. They are playing somebody. So like this painting is Iphigenia. She was the daughter of Agamemnon. And so what I'll do is I will hide hints to her story in the background. Till then it's kind of mysterious, and I kind of also like that mystery, that if you don't know what's going on, there's still something going on, you just don't know quite what. So each painting of the 80 that I'm going to be doing for my Mythica series is a unique person, so it's an individual portrait, but when they all come together, they're going to represent modern interpretations of stories. Like a lot of myths they're not dogma. It's not, this is what happened, you know, the end. It's kind of more, some storytellers tell it one way, some storytellers embellish and tell it another way. And so I like to kind of follow that kind of tradition and reinterpret the stories again, but through my lens as a, you know, modern American woman living in Southern California. I have a different viewpoint than someone who might 100 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or 3,000 years ago. And then also trying to connect these stories to how they fit in our modern context. Like, why does it matter? And it's like to be able to erase history or pretend that, oh no, there was gender equality all the time. It's like, that's not so, that it's a tenuous balance, that it's still important now, but I don't want to beat people over the head with it either.